Okay.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We're doing our second panel of the day. I don't think I introduced myself last time. I'm Riza. I'm part of Time to Tabletop. I do a lot of Time to Tabletop things. Yeah, that's who I am. Hoorah. So we already got to talk with Eli, and now we're going to talk with Keith. How do you pronounce your last name?
Carmona.
Carmona. Okay,
right.
It looks like Carmona,
Yeah.
and it is Carmona.
It
okay.
is. Yep.
Beautiful. Okay. So I did say your name, but who are you? What's your role in Splatter Comics, and how long have you been doing this thing?
Okay. My name is Keith Carmona, and my day job, my regular job, if you will, is I teach English at the high school level.
Yeah.
And along with that, I teach creative writing, which
Awesome.
has been going on, I guess. I've been teaching it now for about 8 years. It's hard to believe that.
That's some time. Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit of time.
And I would say about 5 years ago is when I got involved with Scattered Comics.
Okay.
I had written a novel, and I was going to shop it around, but I also had the creative writing class, and usually what I like to try to do is try to get actually published writers and stuff to come talk to the kids and stuff, because listen to me all the time is boring
like
and stuff.
Background music, yeah.
Yeah, and by the way, I apologize for those of you who are already sick and tired of me, even though we're only 2 minutes into this, right? Okay, imagine what life is like as a high school student in my class. Anyway, so that's where I met Jason Doobie, who's the co-owner of Scattered Comics, and he was looking through it and said, why don't you turn this into a comic book?
Yeah.
And so I'd never thought of that before. I thought, well, this was my only avenue to writing and publishing, is to do it this way. But he said, no, why don't you do this? So I went ahead, we worked together on it, got an artist, and put it together. And so, 5 years ago, Blank made its debut with Scattered Comics. Since then, I've written a number of scripts, and we've got a really big one actually coming up in a couple years with Scattered Comics. It's going to be our big crossover event, bringing together.
Gotta love crossovers.
Yeah, so we're bringing together a lot of the characters and stuff that people love and are familiar with the Scattered Comics, bringing together in one adventure.
It's like the Infinity Wars of Scattered Comics.
Sure,
yeah. Just like all the movies.
Yeah.
There.
So we're putting it all together there, and also my all ages book, Dr. Dream, came out this summer, and
awesome.
We're already getting going on issue number 2. And
fancy.
Yeah, so in just 5 years, whoops.
You're okay.
Okay.
It's okay.
Good, yeah.
Eli also did that if it makes you feel better.
I'm a good writer. I'm not really good on the tech stuff here, so I'm afraid, if I touch anything, it's just going to explode, and we're all going to die in a fire.
We can't wait. It's going to be really exciting.
So and speaking of exciting, it has been exciting doing this, because I've met a lot of fantastic creators and artists and writers and that kind of thing.
It's a great outlet to meet all these people. Yeah, absolutely. Beautiful. Okay, so why a writer? Why did you want to be a writer?
Okay.
What started that?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
Okay. Growing up, some of my influences were just looking at stories, right? I was really influenced by Star Trek. I was really influenced by Twilight Zone, things like that. Just the whole stories and those kinds of things behind them was really interesting. Alongside that, when I was in 5th grade, in our English class, or English portion of 5th grade, because you've learned every subject in there.
Absolutely, yeah.
I read a story called The Foghorn.
Okay.
By Ray Bradbury.
Okay.
And I must have been a complete idiot after I got into reading this, because I was absolutely so sad that this sea creature, right, mistook a foghorn for its mate. And so it reached the surface and stuff, and it realized it wasn't, and it realized it was the last of its kind and stuff, and so then it dove back down into the ocean. And I was just like, oh my gosh.
That hit home. That hit my heart.
I know, but I want to write like that.
Yeah.
I want to just, tell meaningful stories, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's amazing.
So back in the day, when we all got like 50 cents a week for allowance, right? Kids these days, it's like $100 a week, and they, anyway.
I wish I could get $100 for allowance. Oh my gosh, that would be
I
perfect.
saved up several weeks of allowance, and then I went down to, and I realize I'm dating myself here, Tower Books on Watt Avenue. Okay.
Just a little dated.
Sorry about that, kids. Anyway, I went down there, I went to the science fiction section, I looked at all the Ray Bradbury ones, and I picked one out, and for $2.50, I got my first Ray Bradbury book, and that was my inspiration to just really begin writing.
It.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that. That story makes me so sad. It's like, I'm lost my car. No. Oh my God. So your that was your major influencer.
Yep.
So that'd be the main one. Are there any other big influences that you found throughout the years?
Yeah, I mean, well, getting specifically into comics, a lot of my friends were, Spider-Man and Superman and Batman and all those and stuff.
Yeah.
I was a Doctor Strange fan.
Really?
I really was.
A little obscure, because, now a lot of people know about Doctor Strange, but before, all the films and stuff, everyone just kind of knew about Doctor Strange, so that's amazing.
Yeah, I liked it. I mean, he was, in touch with this sort of mystical world that, just having just this other side, and stuff like that, really tapping into that other sort of realm and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
I also really like Daredevil. And,
Daredevil's a really good one.
So he's into justice and that kind of thing, and the fact that we could find justice without having, without necessarily killing anybody or anything like that, right?
Yeah.
That we can bring bad people to justice and things like that.
Yeah,
that really appealed to me
Daredevil
too.
really brought that one into really good.
Yeah,
I thought they did a phenomenal job of it. So Doctor Strange and Daredevil, any certain writers other than just those books,
other than Ray Bradbury? Yeah, I mean, once I got into that during middle school, 7th, 8th grade, I was reading a lot of Piers Anthony fantasy. I was playing a lot of Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, of course.
When Dungeons and Dragons wasn't cool.
When Dungeons and Dragons was lame.
I say that because I grew up in a rural area.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And so there were 4 or 5 of us that played Dungeons and Dragons.
And you guys were the uncool people, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And this is funny because, when Stranger Things came out, there's a group of 4 of them that in the basement. Mm-hmm. Okay, we literally hung out at my friend's place, played Dungeons and Dragons in the basement.
Yeah, it's
so
cool
I had to laugh when that, I'm like, dude, that's us. It's pretty crazy.
And people thought we sucked then. And now it's amazing thing. And everybody does it.
I know.
It's phenomenal.
I know. But just, role playing right now I think is fantastic because there are just as many even girls playing as guys. We were guys walking around and stuff, and we not only in a rural area where we were okay, you guys go off in your basement and summon the occult. Is that what you do down there? I'm not kidding you. There was parent groups who were calling the principal concerned about us, right?
Yeah.
That somehow
it's a thing. Yeah. People are no, this is witchcraft stuff. We're
no, not really. It's really good imagination.
Yeah,
exactly.
We're learning from this. Come on.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. I have to actually, credit Dungeons and Dragons for expanding my vocabulary. Mm-hmm. It really did. I mean, all these different words and stuff that were foreign to me, and I really learned to really pronounce them and stuff. Because these are not just simple, the single syllabic words. They are multisyllabic.
You're just oh, dude, what's happening with this word? Yeah, I played Dungeons and Dragons growing up, and I was also homeschooled, and just playing that, it helps you with math, people skills. It helps you with reading, writing,
absolutely
working well with each other. It's kind of like having a job, but you get to if you lose, you lose, but you learn from it, and you don't have to lose in real life. And it teaches you almost literally everything.
Yeah, it did. I mean, I honestly, and I'm okay admitting this. For the first 2 years of playing Dungeons and Dragons since 7th grade, I mispronounced miscellaneous all the time.
Oh, that word sucks.
Mescalionous?
Yeah, it's what's happening?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly.
God, yeah.
I have a mescalionous item. No, what do I do with a mescalionous item?
We all have mescalionous.
It's like random seafood, right? Mescallion. Okay, anyway.
What are these random seafood things? What's happening? Oh my God, I love it. Yeah, I'm totally on board with that concept and everything. Okay. What makes a truly good story? What makes something that really grasps people in, opposed to just it's a story? It's whatever.
Any story needs to be character-centered.
Okay.
And your character, whether they be an alien from some far-off planet or some interdimensional being, has to have some kind of human quality to them.
Something
they have
relatable.
to identify with us, and it doesn't matter if it's a dark part of us or a light part of us or something
but it's
like that.
something that we can grasp onto.
That's what's going to keep you turning the pages, or if you're in a role-playing game, going to keep you going around the corner and searching and finding and discovering.
Yeah, because if you can't relate to something, then
why am I doing this? Exactly.
Absolutely.
You'll just like, okay, I'm not going to read that guy anymore.
And this is boring. Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
and this adventure is over, and what have you,
Yeah.
right? So it's got to keep you wondering, it's got to keep you guessing, and it's got to hit you in here or in here, something like that.
Somewhere in these general realms.
Yeah, your head and your heart. If you can do both, that's great.
Double whammy. We got it.
Yeah,
Yes.
for sure.
Okay, awesome. I love that. What is your generalized process for writing these amazing head and heart touching stories?
Okay. So, it's interesting because Blank is very much a dystopian kind of situation. What happens when the world around us is sort of falling apart?
Yeah.
Right? If there's no superhero in a unitard and a cape to save us, who's going to be there, right? And so that's why the hero for that one is a journalist. Someone like us who is digging for the truth, who wants to know what happened, right?
Yeah.
Who's seen his world just completely fall apart. It's like, what the heck is going on here, right? I'm not going to be able to take him down myself, but if I can expose the truth, maybe we can, together as a group, fix this.
Yeah.
With Dr. Dream, it was different. It actually did kind of come for me a bit because I was having trouble dreaming. And so when you have a cough, for example,
there you go, yeah.
you want to go see a doctor, right? When you have a toothache, you want to go see a dentist. What happens when I've got dream problems?
Yeah.
Right? So that's where Dr. Dream came from. A psychologist has the ability to go in and help people with their dreams.
That's amazing. I like that.
Yeah. So
beautiful. So
but our stories come from usually what's around us.
Yeah.
Or what inspires us.
Yeah.
Or problems we see
things
around
that keep
us.
you, like, driven.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Same thing with like the head and the heart thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, thank you though. I've had a cough. She's about to offer me water. If anyone's just like, what's happening? It's all good.
Stay hydrated, people.
Yeah, stay hydrated. It's fall, but it's still, what, 80 degrees?
Oh, yeah.
Welcome to Sacramento. It's really
exactly.
exciting. So what kind of advice do you have for someone just starting their journey in writing?
Yeah. Okay. So what I tell, whether it's my creative writing class or someone coming up to my table, read a lot.
Just reading.
Read a lot, right?
Okay.
You cannot be a good writer unless you read. Okay. And this is, I kind of got this, I'm borrowing from Stephen King, all apologies, but even if you read bad stuff, right?
Just read.
Even if you're like reading it like, man, this is total garbage.
Yeah,
Why am I
but
doing
it's something
it?
that you kind of learn from.
You do.
Yeah.
You learn from the mistakes of others and that kind of thing. It's like, I don't want to write like that. I don't want to do that.
That's not my style.
Yeah, exactly. And so you either find genre, you find voice, you find style, you find all of those by reading widely. Read across genres too.
Just read, people.
Just read. Exactly. Yeah. And that's, part of the reason why I'm working with the Sac Public Library coming up and getting many of our Scatter Comics folks into their summer read program. So we'll be doing that for the Sac Library circuit there in the early spring of next year.
Look forward for that, people.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting them, getting kids to read a lot, and because if kids don't read, like if they spend the whole summer not reading, they actually lose a grade level. And we just want them reading stories, reading books, and things like that.
Reading.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just, please just read something. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
And parents out there, encourage your kids to read widely. I mean, anything. If they pick up a comic book, don't tell them, oh, go put that back. That's just kid stuff. It's words on a page. It's tapping into their imagination. It's giving them a creative outlet, and it's going to keep them reading. So please, encourage your kids to read.
It's baby
visit
steps.
the library, visit, comic book conventions, things like that. Just keep them reading.
I love that message. I grew up, my mom worked at Borders Books.
Oh, yeah.
And so most of my life I grew up just like at Borders, and that's how it just grew. You just keep reading.
Just getting back to my Tower book story, right?
Yeah, there we go.
To me, walking into a bookstore was like walking into a candy store.
It really was.
I wanted to just take everything home and just gather it up in my arms and take it home.
One?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I spent hours in there just walking up and down the aisles and, wow, this looks neat, this looks fun, this looks cool.
That's
and
100% me at grocery stores.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just like, ooh, this is orange. And it's like, you don't need that. You don't know that.
Right,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I love it. Yeah. How do you know when, after you put all this work into your story and everything, how do you know when it's check mark, done, closed, fin?
That is a great question. And I say that because I've got more than one story about writers who have overworked their story.
Yeah, where they just keep going and going and going, and then it's
Right.
kind of worn down.
Yeah, and it's just, you've got to get to a point where, okay, this story is done. Whether it's a novel or a short story or an adventure or what have you, there's got to be some kind of resolution. Now, maybe an indeterminate ending, which is okay.
Yeah.
Right? Some people hate that. Just like, no, it needs closure. You know?
Like, but closure's not always needed.
Yeah, I know.
Because then you're just like, well, what if this happens? What if that happens?
Right.
And then it can lead to a lot more.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, if you're a creator, like a lot of creators back here, we have multiple issues running around in our head and that kind of thing, right? So we know that, okay, we need to end this here, right? So I'm going to continue writing this. But a lot of us, believe it or not, even though it may be years down the line, we know where the story is going to end.
you have it all mapped out in your head. It's just the slow mapping.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there's that. But yeah, if you're working on, say, a novel or something like that, and you have to, again, be careful about overworking. You need to make sure your character is moving around the world, they're discovering, they're facing challenges and things like that.
Now, like when you say overworking, how can they catch themselves from overworking? What if they just think that they're doing a lot, if they're doing the right amount, but sometimes it might come off as overworking?
Okay.
How can they catch that?
Sure. So, oftentimes, I would recommend having a second reader out there. Okay, and when I say second reader, not a spouse, a boyfriend, girlfriend, what have you, right? A partner, life partner, anything like that. Do not have them read the work. Have somebody objective reading your work, because if you get somebody who's close to you, it's like, gee, I really want to tell them about this particular scene, but I love them so much,
they're so
I
great.
don't want to tell them, right? And so that's not, you need somebody really
objective. You need someone
objective
who's just
going
to be like, hey, this part sucks.
Right,
like,
exactly.
Straightforward with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I like this moment. You need to work on this. Wait a minute, I didn't understand this story, or why is this character doing this?
Yeah,
right?
like things that don't make sense,
right.
Make it more clear.
Find a real objective voice to do that, right? And then when they say like, oh wow, and they get that relief and they get that kind of sigh, sort of like you do when you're done writing too. If they have the same reaction, finish reading what you wrote, have you wrote it, then you're there. Yeah.
Beautiful. Awesome. That's all the questions I have for you.
Oh, okay.
Does anyone have any questions for him? Everyone okay? Pretty straightforward. Beautiful. Yay! If you guys have any questions online, you are more than welcome to come down here. We'll be here between 4:30 to 5 p.m. You can always ask them in person. You can always ask them online. Do you have your social media plug? Oh, sure. So if you are interested in the Blank comic book series, which we will be doing a sort of fan-inspired spin-off on that pretty soon, you can go to facebook.com/blank comic book. For the Dr. Dream book, you can go to facebook.com/dream comic book. And for all of my video tutorials on writing for comics, you can go to scattercomics.com, click on my name, Keith Carmona, and they are all there in order for you. Beautiful. And do you have any like Patreons or anything like that? I do not. At this point, yeah, this is what I can do because my day job does take a lot of time and energy. Life crazy. Life is crazy.
I do actually have a question.
Yeah, what's up?
It's a real one. So you were RPG, you played a lot of D&D, those types of things. And
by the way, I am not a DM for hire. I'm the crummiest DM in the world, just so you know. I'm awful. Okay.
Tangents, because of tangents, probably.
Just reasons.
Yeah.
I can't pay attention.
Multiple reasons.
No, there's a lot of stories that go on in the local community that, and a lot of DMs, a lot of players. How would somebody transition that kind of story into like a comic book writing theme?
So like playing an RPG and then rotating it.
When you're playing and that story kind of comes to life, would you have any like suggestions or ideas of how to get that story that came to life into like a comic book?
Coming to life
setting?
in a comic book.
Because a novel would be a lot easier to write when you play a game.
Right. Yeah.
But when you put it into a comic book series, whole different nightmare, whole different layout.
Sure.
I mean, it really is. So the answer is that. How would you start that?
Yeah, no, that's really good. To me, I mean, based on my experience with, D&D role-playing games and that kind of thing, I actually think that going from that to, say, a comic book is easier than what I started going from a novel to comic book writing. Because I think the sequential order of a comic book is many ways the sequential order of the way you would play, a role-playing game or something like that. You can see kind of what's going on in the scenario frame by frame and that kind of thing. You're going to choose kind of intense moments, right, to kind of pick it up a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you're turning the corner and you see maybe something out of your peripheral vision, but you're not sure what it is, right? That kind of thing, right? And so I think those two, are closer together than it is, say, going from novel writing, which is you are describing everything and getting all of the language down and all that stuff, and transitioning that to a comic book. Trust me, I know on that one, taking a novel and putting that was,
you get those visual representations of just like, oh,
right, exactly,
this is what it is, and that way you can just hit the floor running with the story.
Right. I'm going to assume also, and maybe this is a little presumptuous, but those who are interested in crafting stories for role-playing games and stuff, right? They already have that sort of sequential order in line, and you want to tell your fellow players, right? Kind of, okay, you're in a dense jungle and that kind of thing. But if you would write it in a novel, right, you might spend like a whole paragraph and stuff. You really can't do that with a comic book, right? You've got to, especially if you hire an artist or something like that, you want to just give them sort of the basic parameters and let them kind of play around with that. Just as much as starting an adventure, you kind of have to allow the player to sort of play that in their mind and see it in
absolutely.
Yeah.
Just to morph it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for that question. I appreciate it. Does anyone else have any questions? Everyone chilling? Beautiful. Okay. I think that's it.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I really
thank you. I love doing this, and I love you guys for what you do. It's fantastic. Yay.
Yeah, I'll plug us in a little bit, but anyway, so we're gonna be here for a little bit longer. We're gonna be streaming, and we're gonna have another panel coming in hot. So if you want to come by. If you want to stay home, it's okay. Don't worry about it. We're still here. You got it. A1 Comics on Sunrise. There you go. Okay. Thank you guys. We'll see you in a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you everybody for watching our video. Please check out these other cool videos you see on your screen. You can help Scattered Comics and its creators by going to the description below and purchasing any of our cool stuff. Give our video a like and don't forget to subscribe.